Hey Amanda, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Very well. I thought we might start a little bit earlier today if it's all right with you.
Sure.
Great. And I'm looking forward to your discussion on what am I discussing? Overcoming uncertainty and increasing resilience for building courage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is my
looking
video and everything on?
everything's on, my dear.
Everything's on. I will. There we go. Excellent. Good, 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 good. Yes, I'm looking forward to it too.
Lovely. I just let the viewers know a little bit about you. And Amanda is a resilience expert with an extraordinary life story. In her keynote talk, she shares her 5 keys to increasing resilience by building courage. Amanda survived being born 14 weeks premature in the 1970s when tiny babies weren't expected to live very long. She was so small her father could hold her on his hand. The oxygen which kept her alive at birth damaged her eyes and it left her totally blind. Despite this, Amanda has overcome many challenges and to the surprise of people with her and surprises people with her professional and personal achievements. After graduating with honours in law from the Australian National University, she embarked on a 17-year legal career. In her spare time, she climbed to the altitude of 10,000 feet in Nepal and conquered her phobia of getting lost while travelling independently within Australia and overseas. When not speaking, Amanda is a podcaster and author of multiple books. So I'd like to welcome now to our beautiful summit, the lovely Amanda Heal.
Thank you very much. Did you know that an adult saltwater crocodile can slam its massive jaws shut with the bite strength of almost 15 times that of a human? That's enough to bite through steel and more than enough to shatter human bone. Of course, the penguin family weren't thinking about this when they pitched their tent just off above the bank of a creek on the West Australian Northern Territory border. Lena had been sitting up late talking to her son, and she decides to lie down to rest when she hears a rustling in the bushes. Oh, it's probably just pigs coming down to drink, she thinks. But when she gets up on her elbow to see, she sees the huge saltwater crocodile coming rapidly towards them. "Look out," she calls. "Look what's coming." But it's too late, and the huge beast crashes through the screen of the tent and grabs Lena around the chest with such force that it fractures many of her ribs and very badly damages her liver. Peter, hearing the sound, sits up and sees the crocodile with his mother in its jaws. But then he remembers what his father told him about how to scare off a saltwater crocodile. And so he slides his hand up to where its eyes should be and pokes with all his might. Fortunately, that's enough. And the crocodile lets go of Lena and slides out of the tent back down into the water. I don't know about you, but I can't imagine how much courage that must have taken. I mean, heck, anything could have happened. The crocodile could have taken Lena away. It could have let go of Lena and bitten Peter instead. But thankfully, they both survived. And here is a photo taken sometime later of Peter and his mother, Lena. And I've had the pleasure of meeting Peter in Darwin a few years ago when he gave me permission to share this story. What I didn't tell you was that Lena also showed extraordinary courage because her husband, Peter Sr., was still recovering from a recent illness, and Lena put her body between him and the crocodile just before it took her. Life isn't always easy, is it? And you and I face more challenges today than most of us ever have in our lifetime. But the good news is, it is possible to overcome these challenges and uncertainty by building your courage. I'm not going to tell you how to fight off a saltwater crocodile because, well, I've sort of already done that. But what I will do is tell you some stories of how I and others have overcome almost insurmountable challenges, and so that you can do the same. What we'll cover: fix your eyes on the prize, not the problem. Optimize your goals with outstanding outcomes. Connect with your conviction for increased consistency. Upgrade your courage for unbelievable results. And finally, see your success by putting your courage into action. Fix your eyes on the prize, not the problem. When you heard from my intro that I had a 17-year legal career, but I was suddenly made redundant in 2014, which was absolutely devastating. But then it gave me the chance to fulfill my dream of being a speaker. And once I'd finished my training, I was offered a job with the Guide Dogs New South Wales ACT as a PR speaker. I jumped at the chance as this would enable me to improve my speaking skills and would also allow me to give back to the organisation which had given me 4 beautiful guide dogs. And just as a side note, it costs $50,000 to breed, raise and train a guide dog. So I'm sitting at the interview and the interviewer asks me how I'm going to get to speaking engagements. Well, by public transport, by taxi, of course, like any other self-respecting speaker who can't drive, I reply. Well, what would you say if I told you that you would need to get to as many engagements as possible by public transport, she says. It's then that the bottom falls out of my world, because I haven't caught a bus for about 20 years and I'm completely convinced that if I do, I'll get lost and that will be a disaster. So come with me, if you will, on the journey that I went on in my head just then. And if you'd like, you can even close your eyes to make it more realistic. So you're standing at the bus stop and you hear something coming. Is that a bus? I think it's a bus. It could be a truck. Should I hail it? Will it stop? Will it be my bus? But it is a bus and it stops. And you ask the driver the bus number and it is your bus. So you hop on and then you think, oh gosh, what happens if the bus takes off before I sit down? Can't remember the layout of the bus and I can't see, so I might fall. I can't grab the nearest rail or anything. So, but thankfully you get seated without sitting on anybody. You can open your eyes for a sec. I did this once and it was the most excruciating moment of my life. I get on the bus, I'm sliding along the seat, ready to sit down and, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to sit on you. I'm so sorry. He or she didn't speak to me for the whole journey. Anyway, you can shut your eyes again if they were shut before. So you're sitting comfortably on the bus and you start thinking, how will I know when to get off? Do I count the corners? Do I ask the bus driver? Will he tell me? Oh my gosh, what happens if I get off at the wrong stop? I won't know where I am. I'll be all alone. I'll be lost. And then the second interviewer comes into the room with coffees in hand, takes one look at me and says to the interviewer, what have you done to our speaker? Well, nothing, she says. I just mentioned bus travel and she went all sort of cold and sweaty like that. And you're not going to be sick on me, are you? No? Oh, that's good. Anyway, they told me they would give me the training that I required and it would be okay, and they wouldn't make me go to the first gig on my own. But I felt too sick and anxious to make a decision right then. And so I told them I'd get back to them later, and they left. But after some food and a bit of fresh air, I started to think, heck, maybe if I took this job and did the training and started catching buses again, I could get paid for what I'd been doing for free for years. I could become a better speaker, which was my dream. And maybe it would remove some of the uncertainty around bus travel and getting lost, and I could increase my independence and get out more. So, what are you fixing your eyes on right now? Are you looking just at your challenges that you're facing? What would happen if you started looking at the possibilities that could come from those challenges? Hey, you may even become excited about them. Optimize your goals for outstanding outcomes. Research shows that if you set meaningful goals and break them down into bite-sized pieces, you're much more likely to achieve those goals. Because when you achieve each step, your courage increases, and that gives you the courage to achieve the next step and the next until you've got to your goal. And that then gives you the courage to achieve the next goal. Do you remember when you were learning to drive? You didn't just get in the car and get your license and off you go, did you? You probably would have started in a quiet area, and then as your confidence increased, you would have gone on to a busier and busier areas, and then onto probably highways, and then maybe even at night, driving at night, and then you would have got your license. I bet you're all saying, what does she know about driving? She's blind. Well, I'll have you know that I've driven my father's trucks on farms and boats on lakes, and we did used to joke about what would happen if the water transport people came and asked me for my boat's license. And I've even driven a friend's car around a car park very late one night. And yes, we were both sober. You know, it's so hard to start a manual car. You've got to do like about 5 things at once. But eventually I get the car started, and you know, we start driving, and my friend's sitting in the driver's seat. And he's saying like, okay, straight. Okay, now turn left. Good, now straighten up, right. No, not right, straight. But you said right. I mean, good. And look where you're going when you're driving. Why? That's your job. I'm blind. Just look where you're going. It makes me feel better. So we got around the car park without incident and everything was okay. So I know a little bit about driving, but one thing I know a lot more about is getting a guide dog. Now, you're lucky. Every time you get a new car, you don't have to reset the driving test again and learn the road rules all over it, do you? Well, every time I get a guide dog, I have to go through the training again. And that's a good thing because all guide dogs are different. And I have to learn the road rules as well, or the commands for the guide dog. And I have to do that using an empty harness, which is pretty weird. But anyway, I'd learnt all the commands and I'd practiced them and they were all good. And so I went on my first walk. And that was great. I felt a little bit nervous though, because I thought, oh, you know, will this dog keep me safe and will she do all the things that she's supposed to do? So I gave the forward command and off we went. And we're walking along and it's starting to feel really good. And the instructor says, okay, well, now we're coming to a left-hand turn. And so now you have to turn left. And so I gave the left-hand command and we turned left. And there's a picture of Sadie and I turning left. And we proceeded around the block and that was all good. And we had the left turns down. But as you know, you can't go through your whole life just by turning left. So the next day we had to turn right. And here we are turning right. Then after we'd been round blocks turning left and right for a few days, We then went on to a busy residential area. Now, that would be like you driving in light traffic. There's a few people around and you might have to drive through an intersection. I had to cross a road. And, that felt good by the end of that walk. We did that a couple of times. And then we went on to the mall. Now, that would be like you driving in peak hour traffic. There's little kids running everywhere. There's people going in all sorts of directions, not looking where they're going. There's all sorts of distractions. What's that smell? Oh, I like that smell. It makes me happy. Oh, it's the Apple store. I love the Apple store. But no, Sadie, straight on. We have to keep going. We're supposed to go to Kmart. So we got to Kmart and everything was great. We got back again and that was all good. Finally, we went onto the bike track. Now, that's like you're driving on the highway. You can pull out all the stops and you can go fast and straight for long periods of time. That's great. But Sadie, for some reason, didn't respond to the normal guide dog command to speed up, which is hop up. And the only way I could make her go faster was go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. And I think everyone else on the bike path thought I was a little bit special. But anyway, we did the bike track and it was great. And after a little bit more training and doing some theory, I finally got my guide dog medallion. Now that is as important to me as your license probably was to you, because that meant that Sadie and I were a competent guide dog team and we could work independently. Now, that goal took 4 weeks to achieve, but because it was broken down into little bite-sized pieces, it didn't seem so bad. So what goals are you facing right now? Do they seem insurmountable? How would they look if you broke them down into smaller pieces? Connect with your conviction for greater consistency. In 1992, I was invited by Guide Dogs New South Wales ACT to go on a trek to Nepal. Now, I wasn't altogether sure about that because the only thing I knew about Nepal was that Mount Everest was there and I knew I wasn't fit enough to climb that. But when I heard he was going and that we'd be trekking in the Annapurna foothills, I sort of said, yeah, okay, why not? It could be fun. But I knew that there were some seriously fit people going. There was a triathlete and there was an Paralympic runner. And I was absolutely determined that I would not be left behind. So I thought I'd better get into some serious training. So I hired an exercise bike and I started with 5 minutes a day. And the next day I did 6 minutes and then the next day I did 7. And I increased until I was doing 20 minutes a day. And then I got a bit bored with the bike. And so I hired a step machine because I knew that we'd be doing lots of climbing. So I progressed on the step machine up to 60 minutes twice a day. And I trained so much that I actually hurt my knee. But even just despite the pain of a sore knee and there were many times I wanted to give up. But the thing that kept me going was that I was determined I wasn't going to be left behind. So I had to get fit. Apart from the training on the bike and the step machine, we also did lots of different walks on different surfaces and practicing with different guiding techniques. And here I am crossing a creek with my mum, and they tell me she looks like she's about to fall in the water, but thankfully she didn't. But it all paid off because I was able to go on the trek and I stayed in the middle for the whole way, which was awesome. We were all matched up with Sherpa guides who were trekking leaders in their own right. And because they needed to speak enough English to say things like, step up with your right foot and be careful of the slippery mud, or step over the tree root with your left foot and whatnot. And so they were wonderful. And here I am trekking with my wonderful guide, Tenzing. Our beautiful guides took us up to a height of 3,210 metres, or just over 10,000 feet, at the summit of Poon Hill. And it was wonderful because we're all standing there and the head of the trek took us each by the hand and said, now, Dalagir is over here and Annapurna's there. And we all wanted to know where Everest was, of course. And he said, well, it's kind of over there somewhere, but I can't see it because of the clouds. But despite their wonderful care of our guides, we still had some trips and slips. And so we decided to make a bit of a game about it. We decided that we would define what was called a technical fall. And the person who had the most technical falls would have to buy everyone else a drink. Now, we decided that a technical fall would be if you fell and you touched the ground with 3 parts of your body, say 2 hands and a knee, or 2 knees and a hand. And after some debate, we decided that 2 butt cheeks would count as 2 parts of your body as well. And the Sherpas got in on this. And so you'd be walking along and you'd hear a Sherpa's voice call out, technical fall. And you'd know who it was from the Sherpa's voice. But ironically, the person who won the competition was one of our sighted trekkers, Glenn, because he slipped and he rolled down a small embankment. Thankfully, he didn't hurt himself. He twisted his ankle slightly, but was able to walk again after the rest day. And we decided that he won the competition because he touched the ground many times with his whole body. So what is your conviction? Maybe it's a dream you've had. Maybe it's to reach the next level in your business. Maybe it's your life's purpose. Now, I can talk a bit about that at another time, if you like, because I've written a book about how to discover your life's purpose and put it into action. So what would happen if you focused on your conviction? Maybe it would keep you going when times are tough. Upgrade your courage for unbelievable results. When I was a lot younger and fitter than I am now, I could lift almost 1.5 times my body weight. That was about 100 kilos is my personal 1 RM, as the weightlifters call it, 1 repetition maximum. But I didn't start with that. I just started lifting the bar with no weights, which is 20 kilos. And then gradually the weights increased and increased and increased until I got to regularly lifting about 85 kilos. But that wasn't the end of it. I couldn't just say, yeah, I can lift 85 kilos or I can lift 100 kilos. I had to keep doing it because if I didn't, my muscles would get weaker. Now, courage is a bit like a muscle too. You can build it up, and then once you've built it up, you have to keep it strong. Now, remember that story that I was telling you about catching buses? Well, I agreed to do the training and take the job. And because my fear was so great and my courage muscle was very weak, I had to start small, just getting on and off a stationary bus. Because even a bus driving past would make my heart race. So getting on and off a stationary bus and learning to find a seat. And then the next step, once I got that down, was driving round and round the block on the bus, practicing ringing the bell, getting off, getting back on, finding a seat, ringing the bell, and so on. Once I had that down, then I went on a short bus journey, a real bus journey, with the instructor beside me to keep me calm. Once I got that down, then I went on a longer bus journey with the instructor sitting somewhere up the back of the bus in case anything went wrong, which it didn't. Finally, I took a bus journey on my own and met the instructor at an agreed location. And now I catch buses all over Canberra to speak. That goal took a lot of reaching, but that wasn't the end of it once I was used to catching buses, because when we went into COVID lockdown and I didn't catch a bus for a few months, I was really quite anxious about catching the bus again. But that's okay. I took it in my stride and I got on the bus and I got to where I had to go. And so now I know that that's just one of those things that I just have to keep doing to keep my courage muscles strong. Now, the good news is you don't have to do huge acts of courage to build up your courage muscle and keep it strong. Maybe you could drive to your office every day if you don't work from home a different way. Maybe you could talk to someone different at or say hello to someone you don't know at one of these summits. So what can you do to build your courage and keep it strong? Finally, see your success by putting your courage into practice. After was made redundant and before I retrained as a speaker, I used to sell Arbonne skincare. And I soon learnt that people won't buy stuff from you, even if you think they should. But then the Global Training Conference came up in Vegas, and I thought, surely I'll learn something there. So I decided I wanted to go to the conference, and that was being held at the MGM Grand. Now, that took quite a bit of planning because I'd travelled overseas before on my own, but I was met at the other end by a friend. But this time I had to catch 2 flights in Australia, and then I had to change flights in LA to fly to Vegas. And so that took a lot of planning, and my parents loudly voiced their concerns about my safety, which didn't help. But, I was determined that was what I was going to do, and got in touch with a good travel agent who told everyone that I was coming and organised everything. And I got there safely, and that was great. And went through the conference and I learned a lot, but not what you'd think. So got to the end of the conference, and I was meant to meet up with my mentor and sit by the pool because I had like 6 hours to kill. But then she messaged me and said, oh, look, I've been invited to a party and I don't think it's the sort of party that you'll like. It'll be very loud and very crowded and blah, blah. And so I thought, okay, fair enough. So she went off to her party, and I was thinking, gosh, what should I do? I thought, I could ask for a late checkout, and just stay in my room, but that's pretty boring. So I'll go downstairs and see if I can sit somewhere more comfortable and maybe even talk to someone. So I went down and they said to me at reception, oh, look, you can sit in the VIP lounge. So, which was all very nice. And so I'm sitting in the VIP lounge at the MGM Grand. And apparently only long-term members, people who stay there all the time, can sit there. So I'm sitting there, and I was beginning to feel a bit cross because there were some Japanese gentlemen, I think they were, speaking to each other, and I couldn't understand what they were saying, and they weren't talking to me. And I thought, 6 hours of this, it's not going to be good. Anyway, I remembered what my mentor had said about gratitude. And I thought, gosh, what can I be grateful for? Well, I've got like 6 hours of Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi that I wasn't expecting to have, and I'm sitting somewhere comfortable. I'm not in my room. There's a counter behind me with someone there that can get food if I need it. And actually, this isn't too bad. And the Japanese gentleman left, and I started watching videos on my phone. Someone taps me on the shoulder. It's the CEO of Arbonne. Oh my gosh, she'd seen my bag and she came over to see who I was. And so I chatted to her, and that I was absolutely thrilled because I didn't think I'd ever met her, and told her that made the 6 hours that I'd have to spend here worth it. And she said, oh, look, have you eaten? I said, no. She said, oh, look, I'll get you some food. I'll put it on the Arbonne account. And, oh, thanks. And so she left, and about half an hour later, I get another tap on the shoulder. And this voice says, oh, hello, I'm Mike. I'm the head butler of the MGM Grand, and I hear you're hungry. Well, I can be, I said. And so remembering the room service menu, I said that I wanted a club sandwich with a bowl of chips or crisps, because we don't have sandwiches and crisps together in Australia. And I thought, well, why not? And he said, oh, look, I won't bring your food down here. I'll take you up to the Sky Lounge. And I said, what's the Sky Lounge? I asked as we were going up in the elevator. He said, oh, that's the penthouse of the MGM Grand. So I spent the whole afternoon eating my club sandwich and a bowl of crisps, which was big enough for an entire meal on its own, being regaled by Mike of all the stories of all the famous people who'd also sat up at the very table that I was eating at. And finally, it got time to go. And Mike said, "Oh, how are you getting to the airport?" And I said, "Oh, I was just going to go down and call the bellboy and get a cab." And he said, "Oh, no, that's okay. You can go in one of our cars." So I thought, "Oh, lovely." So down we go in the elevator again with my bag in a separate elevator taken by the hotel manager, if you please. And we get down there. And what is waiting for me but a Rolls Royce? Now, as I'm gliding to the airport with Mike in the most comfortable car I've ever been in, I started to think, if I had taken the easy option and just taken the late checkout and sat in my room, I wouldn't have met the CEO of Arbonne, and I wouldn't have been treated like a princess for the afternoon. I certainly wouldn't have had a ride in a Rolls Royce. So, oops, sorry, wrong button. So if you like what you've heard, please do consider referring me, and my contact details are up there on the screen, because that's how I get all my speaking engagements. So if you're facing challenges today and you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, you've got this. I know you've got this. Just reach down deep inside and grab hold of that courage, and you'll be just fine. My name is Amanda Heal. Thank you.
Oh, Amanda, that was absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I loved it. It was amazing. I love watching you speak because your face is so animated and your voice is so calming. I love it.
Oh, thank you so much. This was the first time of doing the keynote with slides, so I was quite terrified, and that's why I was pausing a little bit in one point, because I wasn't sure whether the slides were changing or not, but they were.
Oh, no, it was perfect. It was absolutely amazing. I loved your presentation.
Thank you.
I've put your contact details in the chat so people can reach out to you if they want to get you to speak, because I think your topic is absolutely amazing, and the stories that you told were brilliant. Loved them. How can you get Rolls Royce, you lucky duck?
Amazing. Just amazing.
And I mean, I don't mean to, with your, it's not a disability, but
It's all right. You don't have to be politically correct. I'm hard to offend.
no, thank you. I couldn't think of another word.
I'm blind. It's okay.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for giving me that grace. I can't imagine what life would be like being unsighted, but you live such a full life, and it's so amazing that you could find the courage to do stuff, that a lot of us sighted persons can't even imagine.
Thank you. It hasn't been easy. It really hasn't. But yeah, thank you.
You are an amazing human, Amanda, and I look forward to actually having you back on the Talking with the Experts, because I think your story is very valuable. And I wouldn't mind if you would just use your slide presentation. That would be absolutely awesome. It would be so beneficial to other people, business owners, to find their courage, because I think it's important that they look elsewhere and look within themselves.
I'd love to do that. Thank you so much.
All right, Amanda, you have an enjoyable rest of your day, and I will talk to you very, very soon.
Great. Thank you.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Voiceover settings activity. Align lapse. Amanda Q audio seen by vision, not by sight. Video.
That was the lovely Amanda Heal. She is an amazing human, and so gifted. I loved her presentation. It was, and her voice, it's like honey. It's so easy to listen. You can just close your eyes, and honestly, it would just so soothing. I loved it.